I'll tell you what I take away from that as a big lesson is...
We've had clashes. Billy threw his wallet at me once. I pissed him off and he threw his wallet at me and stormed out my flat. and then he had to come back and get his wallet, so it's quite awkward. But
if someone's listening thinking, oh, my friend and I are talking about doing a business, or I've got a business and my friend wants to come on board, what can you share that they can take away of like, this is how we can make it work?
Billy had just had his first son and I was literally getting married the month after we set up the business. So we was obviously going to go from earning a salary to nothing because we had to build the business from scratch. Good question again. Yeah. No idea why.
This is the question I'm trying to find the answer to every day.
Like, Billy had just had his first son and I was literally getting married the month after we set up the business. So
that's a perfect lesson to take away there of there will never be the perfect moment.
Not long after that, we got an email saying like, would you be thinking of selling? And it was just a cold email. If someone said to me in 5-6 years time, you'll be selling the business for X amount of money, I would have said no chance. Like, I'd be happy just to earn the salary that I was earning in my job before.
You said you got 4 formal offers. How did you decide which one you wanted to take?
Dave? Thank you.
Thank you, I haven't said anything yet.
Thanks for having me.
Oh, I like you. You're thanking me before I even say thanks for coming on. You're very welcome. Welcome to Benevolent Business. Your knowledge, your experience in business, who's it most helpful for, do you think? Someone's listening, what type of people should be like, okay, I really need to listen to this?
People that are maybe scared to go off and do their own thing. People that are maybe stuck in a rut of employment and wondering what life is like going off on your own, because it's a very nervy and scary experience and a big jump to make. So for those people that are maybe have a business already and maybe looking for a way to capitalise or profit from that business and maybe sell it or move on to a new chapter, yeah, probably those types of people.
Yeah, so in your story, what was it, 6 months ago, you like exited your business. Obviously it's like you're still part of the new business that's acquired yours.
Yep.
So let's go through that journey, because this was what enticed me to want you to come on, was from our original one-to-one, learning about your story where you'd been employed and then come away, started a business with your colleague, friend, and then obviously got to the point now, years later, where you've sold it. So for anyone listening that's thinking of starting a business or wanting to know what it's like to go into business with someone compared to being a solo founder and then exiting it and having a buyout from another company, there's a lot to dive into. So let's start from
the beginning.
Start from the beginning. How did you go from employee to business owner?
Well, it's a very interesting story, really, because when I first got into insurance, I don't think anyone in insurance chooses to get into it. It's an industry which I think people look at from the outside in that it's a boring industry. It's full of old, stuffy men with briefcases walking around, and there's nothing really to it. So
old and stuffy.
Yeah, I know exactly. I'm not, so I've broken that trend. But I think that's the sort of view. If you're a young person coming out of school or coming out of university, I don't think insurance is seen as an attractive industry to get into. But that's because no one knows much about it, and it's not that. That's not the case. It is a very attractive industry to be in. It's fun. There's ample potential for good money and everything else. But yeah, I fell into insurance. I was a travel agent before, and I just purely wanted to find a new job. I had no idea what I wanted to do. I just spoke to random recruitment companies, and someone said, "Oh, there's a job here. It's insurance." It was a pay rise to what I was on at the moment. I was only 19, so I just thought, let's just give it a go. So I went along to the interview for there, and funnily enough, Billy, who was my business partner when we set up Next Gen, he was already at that company, and he was working his way up into management at the time. So when I walked in for my interview, he was the person who interviewed me. He was the first person that he'd ever interviewed during his sort of process in going up the chain, and I sort of come in and sat with him, and I could sort of tell that he was a bit nervous as well, and I was nervous, but we spoke, and I think the first thing we spoke about was football, and we both saw Crystal Palace, and at that point it was like we were sort of mates like that from the off. So yeah, went through the interview process, managed to get to the job, and me and Billy worked closely together. I was sort of I worked underneath him. I sort of learned from him, from how he conducted himself on the phones and how he sold insurance effectively. We built up a friendship straight away from day one, and we just worked together. It was all good, and then I suppose at one point inside me, a part of me always wanted to go off and do my own thing. I just didn't know what that thing was, and even the insurance that I was selling at the time wasn't a product that I could probably go and do my own thing with. So I wasn't really sure where I wanted to go with stuff. So I remember at one stage, coming into work and I said to Bill, I said, let's just have a catch up in the meeting room. And I said to him, I think we should do something on our own. And he was like, well, what? I was like, no idea. We just need to go. And this is the thing with me and Bill. I'm very good at coming up with ideas. Yeah. Billy's very good at executing them.
How long had you known each other and worked together?
So this had been probably about a year and a half, 2 years. We'd been working together. But at that point, like I said, I had the idea. I had no idea what I wanted to do with it. And then Billy with the execution, he sort of just spoke about stuff. He was like, what could we do? And then the next day he sort of come in and he was like, look, he was like, completely random. He was like, well, my mum's used to have a telemarketing company. And obviously our business, our insurance job, was phone-based sales. So he was like, yeah, she's got a telemarketing company. We could probably get appointed on that. And then we can start doing telemarketing. She can introduce us to some people who would do telemarketing. I thought, well, yeah, at this time, I was like, oh, it's just a bit of extra money. We weren't going to obviously pack in our current jobs. We was like, well, let's just see where it goes. So we did that. It was called Bespoke Telemarketing. Was the name of the company. Managed to get in with this contract where we were just cold calling car garages effectively and just qualifying certain bits of information on them. And we would just do that. We'd do it of an evening. We'd both take our lunch hours separately, or we'd take them together and go sit in the car and phone up, phone down and doing all this stuff. And we did that for about a month. And I remember we got paid for that. We got about 1,200 quid each for a month. And then we were like, this is good.
And that was how many years ago?
This was like this would have been like 13 years ago.
Yeah.
But this was just the start. This was just, at the time, this was just me and Billy. We both knew that we sort of had that in us where we wanted to do something else. But it was so relentless doing it. The money was obviously great, but it was just, we couldn't manage it with full-time work and everything else. So that sort of, then we just put a stop to that, and we thought, right, we made our money. Well, we made a bit of money, not made our money. We didn't make much money at all. But then we just both went our separate ways. I thought, right, I'm just going to see out this career in insurance, see where it takes me. I went into work into the city. Billy stayed in with Bluefin, who we worked for at the time. And then, we both went our separate ways, but we stayed in touch because we were pretty much best mates anyway. Going sort of around that, Billy ended up getting made redundant from his business. So he didn't really know what he wanted to do. So he sort of panicked, and his cousin had a scaffolding company. So he went to work for his cousin at a scaffolding company as a contracts manager, and spent like 2-3 years there in scaffolding, which is a complete change from insurance.
Was he on the tools, or was he contracts
manager? No, he was more in the office and running the staff and everything like that. And then I carried on my insurance career, had 3 years in the city, came out and then worked for a local broker, big national one, but local office. And then he wanted to get back into insurance. So he actually went to work for the insurance broker that insured his cousin's scaffolding company. And so he worked there for a year, had a really good year. So to the point where he was travelling like an hour and a half to work, an hour and a half back. So he said to him, look, I've done really well this year. Can we have an office more local to where I live, which was in Kings Hill? He rang me up and said, look, they've agreed to give me this office. Do you want to come and run this office with us? So you come and work with me and see what we can do. So then I did. I was only at my current role at that time for a year. We went into this, worked for this new company in this new office. It was just me and Bill. We had 1 or 2 people that joined and left at the same time, but ultimately we were just sitting there together, doing the job, bringing in figures that we were happy with. And we were just sort of, every day we'd just be talking, thinking like, we're making this money for someone else. Why don't we do our own thing? And again, I was like, I don't know if I'm ready. I said, we're still young. I was 25. He was 27 or 28.
God, you got a lot of experience there by the time you're 25.
Yeah, but I still didn't feel, my insurance experience was very gradual. I wasn't necessarily in the deep end of like commercial insurance and what I do now. It was very much like personal lines insurance, and then like easing myself into commercial stuff. So I didn't feel like I was effectively ready to go and do it. I'd only been at this company for 6 months. So I was thinking this is going to look really bad. My CV, if it doesn't work out. And again, Billy was the one who was executing it. He was already making the calls to certain people to progress this. And I felt like I was going to get left behind. And I was like, I'll take a risk. I spoke to my dad. My dad's very, I'd say, similar to me at the time, where I was very cautious. I'm not so much now, but he's very cautious. And first thing he said to me was like, well, what if it doesn't work and in 4 months you go bust? I was like, yeah, that's a bit worrying. And then I spoke to Bill and he was like, well, if it doesn't work out, he said, we've got experience, so we'll just go back into a job. And but he also said, it's going to work. He was like, no, we're not going to fail. We can't fail. And I thought, yeah, do you know what? Like, let's start looking at putting the feelers out. And we needed some money to set up because we was obviously going to go from earning a salary to nothing because we had to build the business from scratch. I was really fortunate, even though my dad was very cautious. We both spoke to our parents, or Billy spoke to his dad, I spoke to mine, and they put in £10,000 each to allow us to effectively pay ourselves for the first few months whilst we got everything up and running. It was only a loan, so we always knew we had to pay them back. And yeah, we had a few meetings with a few different insurance brokers because we set up initially as an appointed representative, which just means we tagged onto a larger network's authorisations and stuff like that. And yeah, and then that was it. And Next Gen was born, pretty much. We set up in my spare room in my flat at the time. It was really exciting when we went to Curry's, bought our PCs, set up our desks, cleared out my spare room in my flat, much to my wife's joy. And yeah, and then we literally, the first day it started, we had a computer screen, some data that we pulled off the internet just with different businesses and a phone. And we just started calling people. And that was where it all started.
Just cold calling?
Just cold calling, yeah. Didn't do any networking at this stage.
Yeah.
It was purely calling people up, saying, we're an insurance broker. Can we look to quote your insurances? We targeted roofers and scaffolders initially, but we classed ourselves as a general commercial insurance broker. And then because we had really good success on the roofers and scaffolders, that's when we decided to make ourselves specialists in roofers and scaffolders and construction risks. And that's what we built on from. And that's where it all really started.
Wow. You said about talking to your dad because he's cautious and like going through the ideas and then getting the loan and everything. And then you said much to your wife dismay clearing that spare room. Did you talk to your wife about it?
Yeah, I did. Like she's been really supportive all the way through. Me and Bill, we both had big life events ongoing. Billy had just had his first son, and I was literally getting married the month after we set up the business. So we had these big life events, and again, Billy's words were, there's always going to be a reason not to do it.
I was going to say, let's talk about, we just need to wait for the perfect time.
Yeah.
It's like,
there's never a perfect time to set up a business. And that's the thing. It's scary. It's always going to be scary because you're taking a risk. But I suppose to anyone who's thinking about doing it, is that if you're in a position or in a role where you're doing really well at it and you want to take this leap to business, obviously there's financial bits and pieces you might need to get in place just to set yourself up. But the fallback and sort of safety net you can just have in your head is that, look, one, it's not going to fail. But two, if something just goes massively wrong and it doesn't work out, you're employable. So you can. It's not like you're setting up a new venture with no experience and then you're struggling to fall back into stuff. There's always a fallback that you can go back into another role. But the main thing you want to be thinking is that it's not going to fail. I'm going to make it work. And when you've got that mindset that it's going to work, it's almost impossible to fail because you're just hungry for it and you know what you need to do. But yeah, my wife was very supportive of it. Very supportive. Cautious, but she's very much like, if I want to do something, she's like, if you think it's right, go for it.
Yeah, I think that's a perfect lesson to take away there of there will never be the perfect moment, because I just took the assumption when you said like 25, I just took the assumption that you might have been with someone, whatever, and will settle down in time, and same for you and Bill. It would be that, and you wouldn't have kids yet and that kind of thing. But no, literally, he's had a kid. You're getting married, and it's like, that sounds like the worst time to start up.
We both had mortgages, so it wasn't like like we had this we had this loan which we just basically used to pay ourselves each month, but we were sort of taking pay cut to do it. I knew it would make it manage, and in the first year we had a really good year of business. But we maintained what we were paying ourselves like throughout the whole year at this sort of base level, just because we knew that it was a longer term plan of what we wanted to get to, and it took time to get to a stage where we were taking a bit more money and everything else. But we just did what it took, and we enjoyed it at the same time. It was fun. Because I think this is a key thing is that we did it together, and that I wouldn't have done this on my own. I wouldn't have done. I don't think even if it was now, I don't think I would go and do this journey on my own. Because I need, like, we're like chalk and cheese. We're on the same mission, but I need someone like Bill to push me. I've got these ideas. He's the one that's like, we'll do it then. So yeah, it's I'm really grateful we did it, and it was good. It was good fun.
Right, I'm interrupting this conversation just because I want to talk to you about one of the sponsors, which I love and get to use every week of my life, and that is Dragon Co-working. This podcast is sponsored by Dragon, and it's also recorded here mostly, depending where the guest is. And I just want to tell you the story of why I work at Dragon. Now, I knew of Dragon like a couple of years before I started working here, and in my first company I was like, oh, I love this place. Wouldn't it be cool to one day be working here and have an office and whatnot? And sure enough, when I started Pink Panda, I joined Dragon. Just one, because of the culture just drew me in. The type of people that are here, the camaraderie of it, the culture of it just really drew me in. So a great place to work. But there's two key things that it's helped me with. One is loneliness. Like, as a solo founder, when I started Pink Panda, just being completely on my own, it helped to come to a place where you're not like, obviously you haven't got a clock in and clock out, it's not a job, but like, I'm running my business and having a co-working space. But the key thing was having people I could interact with on a regular basis and actually build like a sense of a community. Like, especially like come lunchtime, you're sitting around with a whole group of people, and then you've got people to like work with, collaborate and pass ideas between. Which leads me on to the second benefit, and that was problem solving. So I actually had an issue with a piece of content I was producing, and it was on the audio, and I just wasn't sure how to fix it. And thought, surely someone here knows. And sure enough, by the time I asked 3 or 4 people, someone was actually like, oh yeah, I know a way that you can fix that audio problem. Boom, done, they fixed it for me. So that is a huge benefit. That just instantly made it worthwhile being here, like from a financial perspective. So that's Dragon Co-working. If you want to experience Dragon for yourself, come along, you can have a day pass and experience it for yourself. Back to the podcast. My first business I started as a solo founder, and like, I have a similar opinion to you now, where I'm like, I'd never want to do it on my own, because I just, like, I know what I'm good at and I know what I'm bad at. And there's a long list of what I'm bad at, so I need to find someone to work with, or a couple of people to work with. But I say that, like, after my garden company, still got it, but like after that, I was like, I am never starting as a solo founder again. And then within like a couple of months of that, I was a solo founder again. Yeah. But I'm trying to change that now. But yeah, definitely, any company from henceforth, I'm certain I will never be a solo founder, just because it's so much better from day one to have, even if it's 2 of you, that's a team then. Yeah,
but I also think you've proven you can do it. So you've got that, you've obviously got that individual drive where you know that you can make something on your own. And yes, it can be easier. And I was very lucky, because me and Bill are very similar. We have different ways of doing things, but we're very similar people. So we were best mates at the same time as well, so it made everything easier. When it's not always the case, sometimes you get business owners that clash, and you want to go in different directions, or you've got different ideas, and it can cause problems. You're a man on a mission. You've got a very strong idea of what you want to achieve. So for you to find someone who's got that exact same mindset and believes in something exactly the same as you, you've obviously got a very high standard for your dream of what you want to get. So setting out on your own is not always a bad thing, because you're a man on a mission. And then you get to a stage where you are now, where you're thinking, let's bring in someone else, but this person's got to be similar mindset to you. They want to achieve the same things out of you. And I suppose it's the difficulties that you don't want to bring someone in who's going to try and change the direction of the business, and it's your baby ultimately. You're leading it, and sometimes doing stuff on your own isn't a bad thing. I was lucky; it worked out for me. But if I hadn't have gone with Billy, he still would have gone and done it on his own. Yeah. So it's not.
Hopefully, you made that life journey easier for him.
Oh yeah, 100%. Even now, like we talk all the time, and there's definitely things where I've made certain decisions which have probably been the right thing to do, and vice versa. We always talked about decisions that we were going to make. You probably won the majority of the time, because it might have been a risk that we were taking, and I don't like taking risks. Yeah. But luckily, they all sort of paid off.
Okay. You say about like the whole hiring thing and like bringing someone in, whether it's with equity or as a co-founder or as an employee, but that I've completely changed. Like, this has been the biggest takeaway for me in hiring people, and like I've hired more than 30 people and done it wrong so many times over that I definitely feel like now I've learned how to do it. And key was, now I start with values. I just go on about like, here's the culture I'm building, or the vision of the business, and the type of people I'm looking to work with. And then I try and I always tried to paint this rosy picture before, whereas I do the opposite now. I just give them all the thorns of like, here's everything that's wrong with it. Here's why it will suck working for me. Like, here's a list. And after all of that, that's what I talk about. And then only after that do I go, oh yeah, by the way, here's what the job is. Because I want people to find connection in the meaning to it and what it is, and for it to align with what they believe in before they think about the actual task itself. Because that's what like in my mind, that's what's going to retain someone and have them on the journey, and not just be like, oh, I'll be here for a year or two, get what I need from it, and then go. Yeah. And that's definitely where I made the biggest mistake before. Was I tried getting people on this rosy picture, and like where I say now I give all the thorns. Before I was giving all the petals of like, look at this beautiful journey, and then they come along and it's like, this is horrible, and I'm like, oh yeah, by the way, we're a scrappy startup. So now I just kind of go in with that, and it seems to be it works a lot better.
I think that's the best thing to do. I think you need to almost show your flaws as a business first. Yeah. And then if they're still willing to join you on the journey, then there's going to be no sort of nasty surprises. Not saying nasty surprises, but nothing that's going to sort of just surprise them in general. Because we've had that issue with recruiting people. It's you sort of, when we first started recruiting people, it's like you're selling them this dream. You've got this business you're very proud of. So you're more likely just to talk about all the positives and all the great things about this business and what we're setting out to do, and then bring people in. For us, it is that dream. But for someone that you're bringing in the nicest way possible, for them, it's a job that they're coming into. So the expectations are completely different. We've got this vision of what we want to set out to do. They might like that vision, but effectively they're coming in to be a part of it, but they might not necessarily see the whole picture of it. And we've had some mishaps on recruitment. It's tough. It's probably the hardest thing, is trying to find the right people. We try to be a bit more honest now about the role, the roles that we're trying to bring in, and just the difficulties that they will face. And then we'll say, look, if you're happy to deal with those difficulties, here's the rewards at the end of it, which are great, but you need to do all this stuff before you get there. And this stuff is hard. And I suppose from me and Bill's point of view, when we're bringing people in, is that we didn't set up the business and have loads of clients that we could just bring in from day one and set up a business straight away with all this income and all this fancy stuff. We had to work for it. So when we bring people in and we say, look, you need to grow your clients up, you need to cold call, you need to hit the phone, and you need to create these relationships and do it. I know that it's hard, and I know that people don't like doing it, but we're just like, well, we've done it. This is how the business is only in this position because we did that. So if you're not prepared to do it, it's fine. It's not the role for you. But don't tell me that it's. Don't tell me you want to get this far, but you're not prepared to do this, because we've done all that. So yeah.
I want to come on more to recruitment. Before we do, from working with Bill, I just wanted to cover one thing on that, and that's friends. Friends in business. So by the point when you started together, you'd kind of known each other like 5-6 years?
Yeah.
And I've had friends, family involved in business and everything, and taken them on. Friends, it's never worked out. It's always gone sour and awkward. And that's probably more to do with my personality. But family, it's worked really well, but they've kind of been exposed to my personality for years and years and years, all my life. But I'm just curious there, how has it altered your friendship? Or is it different because your friendship was built from work?
That's a very good question, actually. Because because we're like brothers, really. We're talking non-stop. It drives our wives crazy, because they're literally like, who are you talking to? It's like, Bill. And it's like, you've literally been together all day. Like, what can you possibly be talking about? And I suppose because our friendship was born, obviously, from meeting through work, but I suppose our friendship developed because of the similarities we have outside of work, and that's just the personality similarities, football similarities, just the same interests. So it wasn't like he was just a work friend. We were genuinely friends outside of work anyway. And then, so how that sort of developed over the years is that our friendship's still there. We go on holiday with our families together. We still have that friendship. Obviously, the topic of our conversation is probably much heavier on work than before, but we both love our work and we love talking about business. So it's not like, we're sitting here, why are we just sitting here talking about work? Like, we love talking about work and talking about business and everything else. So it's made us much stronger. I mean, we've had our moments, like every business owners do, partners and friends. Like, we've had ups and downs, we've had disagreements. We still learn a lot about each other each other's personalities when we were setting up the business. Because when we worked together, but we were just colleagues, and then we were friends. And when you're business owners, you're exposed to a real different side of people because you're seeing the harsh reality of them every single day. You're so invested in each other's lives because you have to be, because the business is being built together. And yeah, we've had clashes. We've had some. I think Billy threw his wallet at me once. I pissed him off, and he threw his wallet at me and stormed out my flat. and then he had to come back and get his wallet. So it's quite awkward. But no, I think we've learned, like, over the years. We're in a position now where we both sort of are aware if the other person's getting maybe agitated or pissed off with the other one. It's quite easy to nip in the bud. I can't remember the last time we've had a falling out. We bicker like a married couple now.
I want to dive into that, of how there's something there to learn about. So that relationship being tested, and the point where Billy's thrown his wallet at you and stormed out the flat. Like, how did you develop a relationship where you can have challenges, but you can resolve them and keep the business going? And how did you learn to do that? Like, if someone's listening thinking, oh, my friend and I are talking about doing a business, or I've got a business and my friend wants to come on board and all this kind of thing, I want to try and identify what can you share that they can take away of, like, this is how we can make it work.
Swallowing your pride.
Swallowing your pride,
I suppose, is, and it's understanding the other person's personality traits. I'm probably more of an open book than Bill when it comes to, like, showing emotion and stuff like that. So if we've ever had a disagreement, Bill's very much someone who will just he can move on from stuff quite quickly, and that's it. Whereas I like to close something off before I move on from it. I like to thrash it out. So I knew that if I wasn't going to open up this conversation again and try and sort it out, it would probably just sit there buried, and it would just bubble up again later down the line. But Bill's he's a great guy. He was just like, we have a falling out. It's like, right, let's talk about it. It might be a case that we go home and then I'll just drop him a text and say, like, look, like,
love you really.
Yeah, but we've never been in a position where we've fallen out that drastically when I've been scared about the future of the business or anything like that. It's always been a case of, we both know that the business comes first and our egos come second, because it's an ego thing. When you set up a business, it's very easy to get an ego because you're suddenly your own boss and you're working for yourself and you've got this title, and it's very easy for that to sort of get in the way. You think you're sort of more important than what you are.
Oh, I went through that when I was 21 and I set up my first business. I became a right pretentious prick.
Yeah, and it's normal. It's easy to do, but I think when you then meet other people in business, it can be quite humbling when you meet other people that are way further on in their journey to you, and you're like, well, actually, do you know what? I haven't got there yet. I don't have this right to have this ego. So it's putting egos aside and just trying to thrash stuff out. But it's swallowing pride. And I think if you're a business partner with someone who you know is very stubborn, it's just who's going to blink first. And sometimes it's easier to nip stuff in the bud and move on from it rather than let it fester, because it will always come back up again down the line.
So taking that, now applying it to recruitment, and you said, like, sounds like we've done similar things where we've brought people in and interviewed them or whatever, got to know them, and we're painting this rosy picture. But it's our dream. It was your dream. It wasn't their dream. It was a job, as you say. So what did you learn over time worked, and what didn't work? So let's start with what didn't work. Like you said about painting that rosy picture didn't work. Is there anything else you can pull out where you're like, wow, we thought it would work, and that really didn't work when it came to hiring and retaining staff?
I don't know. It's really hard because we've recruited people recently where it hasn't worked out, and I'm talking like months ago. So you're still learning from it.
Yeah.
You're still, every single time you're learning from it, and you never quite know what other people's intentions are when they're looking for other jobs. And I suppose the main thing is that you're, as a business owner, you, from the outside in, you always want to look bigger and more successful than probably what you are. It's all about, but that's not just, you need to do that in a certain way for clients, because you want, they need to be sort of comfortable and have that confidence. But again, it's that an ego thing where you're sort of trying to paint that picture for everyone else on the outside to be like, yeah, I've got this company and everything's all really great. And then it all then stems down to recruitment, where people come in and you're like, we're an established company, like you were trying to bring them in, and then we'd have them in a meeting room in the office blocks that we're at, and then they come into the office and there's like 4 desks in there. I'm like what? People are coming in, they're used to working for bigger companies where there might even be like 20, 30 people in an office, and then they're coming into business where at one point it was just me and Bill. It's like, oh, this will be your desk. And you could just tell in their face, they were like, no, I can't. And it's hard working in a small business environment. For some people, like having that busy office where they make friends, and I don't present people for that, because if I didn't do that, I wouldn't have met Billy in the first place. So I understand that. Working in our problem has always been that we're a small but efficient team. So when you're bringing people in with maybe with a certain expectation of work, and me and Bill are very, we like talking about our successes and stuff like that, and we probably create this atmosphere that it's a buzzing office and it's like a Wolf of Wall Street vibe, but it's not. And they might come in and be like, this is a bit tamer than what I was expecting, is much quieter. We're both, when people come in, we're very glued to what we're doing as well. So we try to let people just be independent, which we see it as a good thing. We're like, you're free to do what you want in this role, as long as you bring in the numbers. It's like, you can, off you go. And I don't think some people don't like that. They like to have a set out strategy. They like to come in each day and know exactly what they're doing and how they're going to do it. Whereas sometimes we can't give that to people, because it would just be a case of we go and just do what we did. And it's probably naive of us, because we always have this expectation that people are going to be the same as us. And when they're not, they sort of realise that, we realise that, and it's not worked out. But we've had some great recruits as well. It's not all been bad. But I think it's managing the expectation of the business and where it's at. I think that's the problem. If people come in and you've painted them this picture and it's not quite what it seems when they come in, that's when it's all going to go wrong.
Yeah. Yeah, I think like the things you're pulling out there, I think a lot of business owners have that, and it's like this, almost like this shame. And I definitely had it where you think like, why would someone come and work for my tiny little company when they can work at this company, and they're all so much bigger. And a lot of people don't want that. And like you talk about, some people want the energy of like going in an office and there's people they can make friends with, but other people look at that and go, yeah, but I don't want to be a number. I don't want to, like, if you join in a tiny company, is you can be part of this scrappy startup that's building and growing. You can be part of that journey, but also you can be building a relationship with the founder and learning from them. Whether you want to be in there for a few years and learn what you can and go start up on your own, or you want to be part of this, something that's being built and see it firsthand and then stick around, there's still a lot to entice people in compared to that big office space. And
I agree, but I think we see it that way because it's our business as well. So I think I completely agree with you, because we'd have that exact same conversation with people coming in. We'd be like, look, you're coming in at a great time because we're a small office. You're going to be here with the founders, and you'll be working closely with the people that have built this business. And for us, that's a great thing to offer.
I think the mistake is telling them that it's a great thing rather than letting them think it for themselves.
I agree, yeah. I agree with that, yeah. Because I think, again, that's our ego. So
exactly.
You're selling them and you're saying, oh, you're at the start of where we're going to go. They don't know where you're going to go. We think we know where we're going to go. But we're thinking, we're selling them, they're coming into this dream here, but they're not. They're coming into this reality here.
Yeah.
And it is managing that. And when you're looking to recruit people, if I was going into a job interview with a 3-person office or 4-person office, I'd be a bit daunted by it. I don't think I'd be, especially when I've worked for bigger companies before, it'd be difficult for me to adapt to that. And it was hard adapting to it as a business owner. It was hard going from working part of a company to just being 2 people. So I do understand that, but if you keep, it's difficult, but I think if you keep selling that dream, because that's your focus, and you'll get people that buy into it and people that don't, and the people that do are the ones that will follow you all the way through.
Yeah, and I definitely did worse than that. You talk about an office with like 2-3 people in it. I used to have people come to my mum's house to interview them, and then be like, right, here's my mum's back garden. If you could just do a few bits here and there, and then we're sat in my mum's living room on the dining room table, having a coffee, talking about this job, and it's like talking about employing them and such. Yeah, like it definitely completely changed when I had a yard with like an office in it and a lounge area, and then like all the tools and everything. Like that became a much different perspective. And I remember actually having this day where I took on this guy. It was really great. He was just like nicest personality, and he came along. He'd been referred to me by one of my best friends, and was like, "Oh yeah, my friend really wants to get in the industry. Has got a bit of experience in something similar. They worked in a tree surgery firm and then wanted to do gardening, and I think the way it was sold was just like, oh yeah, my friend's got a garden business or something. So he probably expected it as that, like just a guy with a van kind of thing, and came along and what was it? I think he did a trial shift with us where there was like 7 of us on site and in this huge private garden in Sevenoaks, starting this huge planting project. And then we went back to the yard and everything was sat in the office. And I remember him sitting down just being like, I didn't expect this. Like I was just expecting it to be like you, maybe one other person, 2 other people. Because I think he'd met me or knew of me and knew I was like some guy in his 20s or something. So that was quite a humbling, or not humbling, that was just like a moment of reflection where it's like, oh shit, like I have grown something here. And then it all went, but changed massively. But so looking at people that you've hired that have been really great, what worked well for them? Like, what do you think it is about them that they've stuck around and been happy?
Good question again. Yeah. No idea why.
This is the question I'm trying to find the answer to every day.
No
like,
idea.
how do I identify someone and keep them happy and retain them for years? And they're always like, I love this job.
When you ask the question, I think it's just the complete reverse of people that come in and don't like it. I think it comes down to the individual. I don't think there's anything necessarily wrong for bringing people into at whatever stage you are at business. I think it's just down to the individual person and what they want out of it, and that's something that is out of our control. We can't control. We can sell people a dream and we can tell them where we're going, but if they don't buy into it, it doesn't necessarily mean that we've not sold it to them correctly. It might just mean that they just don't believe it, or they want something different, which we can't control. And I suppose the people that have come in that we have been really successful with have been people that have been looking for a role which is going to be part of a smaller team and then be part of something bigger overall. People that have been in really negative roles before or jobs where they're just looking for being a small business. They were just like, I don't even care about the size of the company or the money. I just want a role that I'm sort of satisfied in. And we know we can give people job satisfaction because we run a business very relaxed as well. And I think it just comes down massively to the person you're hiring's personality, which doesn't answer your question, because you're never going to know that until you sort of get to the end stage of offering them a job. I truly believe that, because I don't think if it was something that I don't think I've missold anyone any dream. I don't think I've lied to anyone about what we're looking to achieve, and we've been open about jobs and stuff. And I think the people that have come in have just thought that the role's not for them. And I'm quite a strong believer that I don't think it's anything that we did wrong. I think it was just that maybe what they expected from the role might have not been met, not in a negative way, just in a way that they probably found it harder than what it actually was. And you can't really figure that out in an interview over even in 2 or 3 interview stages. You never, because on the flip side as well, from their point of view, if they're interviewing for a job, the reason why they're looking for a job is because they want to probably move from where they are. And I know when I was looking for jobs, when I was employed, even if I walked into a business and I probably didn't want to work there, I would still sell myself in an interview for my own confidence. And I'd try and get the job even though I know I wasn't going to take it, because that would make me feel better knowing that I'm a good interviewer or interviewee, and I can take that into the next one that I'm going into. So you never know the person's intentions when they're coming in. They might be going through this process of wanting to get this job offer, and I full well that they're not going to take it. And I think sometimes we need to give ourselves some slack, and that it's not necessarily anything we're doing wrong. It's just the people we're bringing in and making sure that it's right for them, most importantly.
I'm going to pause the conversation for a moment because I'm going to tell you about one of our sponsors. And actually, this is a really cool story and quite a shocking one, actually. So let's dive into this. IT Manager Services, got talking to Tom. So I want to tell you this story of one of his clients that was an accountancy franchise, that it turned out that their cyber security insurance was actually void because of what their IT provider, their previous one, was doing, or rather not doing. It's definitely something that if you're running a business, you want to watch out for. So the problem was they weren't receiving the quality of service that they were expecting or were promised. So when Tom first met them, they were unhappy with their provider just through certain things, such as they were supposed to be getting all of their software and all of their activity backed up. Turns out it wasn't actually being backed up. They were supposed to have all of the servers moved over to the cloud. That hadn't happened. So you can imagine, big problem. They were annoyed, frustrated, hence why they've called Tom in. So getting started with IT Manager Services, Tom just made sure to get on top of everything. Upgraded all the servers to the cloud, made sure everybody had their own license and account for privacy. So I was using Microsoft, but they had to make sure that every single staff member had their own license, so they weren't accessing each other's accounts and emails and whatnot, because the previous company hadn't looked after that, and it was just a key problem that they need to solve that didn't even realise they had. But also gradually started building more security and automations within their systems that they were using, just to make things more efficient for them. But it was in this part that they actually discovered a key problem was their cybersecurity. Turns out it was actually completely void because they didn't meet the due diligence of all the requirements of what they need to have in place for their IT. So now, as a result, of course, their cyber insurance is covering them and they're fully compliant with it. They're now way more efficient in their day-to-day practice and procedures just because of the automations that have been put in place on their systems. And this is all something that Tom and the team at IT Manager Services have done for many of their clients. So what I'd recommend, just for peace of mind, give IT Manager Services a call.
I'll tell you what I take away from that as a big lesson is, as a business owner, not being so hard on yourself if you hire someone, it doesn't work out, and looking at it as like, it's the same in finding your friendship group, finding someone when you're out dating and whatnot. You've got to hire, you've got to meet with, interview and hire people, and they're not all going to work out, and you're going to go through different people and realise, oh, okay, that personality we didn't work out, or that type of character didn't work out, but hire 5 people and work with them, and eventually you'll find 1 or 2. And same thing in dating, go on dates with 2, 3, 4, 5, 10, whatever different people, and eventually you'll learn like what you like and what you're drawn to, and equally start to build relationships that work. And I think that's a good way to take it, because I definitely had that guilt of hiring someone if it didn't work out, being like, what did I do wrong? And I was always analysing, what did I do wrong, what can I do differently, how can I improve it? But I would always take it to heart as well, like, this is my dream, this is my baby, why does no one like it? Like, someone's like coming into my baby and like felt disdain towards it and left in a sort of at the end of an altercation. I'm like, what? Like, I felt so hurt by that and like took it so personally. But yeah, I think you're right. Is change that perspective and like, no, it's completely fine. And you haven't got to, there doesn't need to be any anger about it or any upset. It's just a case of, oh, it didn't work. Brilliant. I really appreciate you coming along. And
if you learn from it, it's fine. And as well, I think you got your recruitment is probably very different to our recruitment side, is because we're bringing in people to do a role which is effectively, there is a clear laid out, like, this is what you do and this is how you do it and this is how you get it. Whereas you're bringing people in who you want them to be open-minded and have their own ideas to stuff as well. And it can really be quite daunting to someone you come, especially with the way you come across. You are so clear with what you want to achieve and you're so open about it, and you get that impression from you straight away. And if someone comes in, they might be like these dreams are big. I can't think of anything like that. And the role you're probably looking for is very different to the role that we're sort of looking for, because ours is quite black and white job specific role, whereas you're looking for someone with personality. You're looking for someone who's going to be a bit, I suppose, more of an extrovert in terms of speaking out and marketing and everything else. It's a different personality, probably trait that you're looking for in your people you recruit.
Oh, you should read the job description I wrote out yesterday. It's insane.
But the thing is, you're being your authentic self, you're being honest. And that's the most important thing, is that if you painted a picture that wasn't you, like you said before, they're only going to figure it out eventually down the line anyway, the more they work with you. And then it's a shock to you. Just be yourself. And then you find the people that do come in, their acceptance of who you are and how you work and how you do things. And hopefully they're the ones that will stick around, because you've been open and honest and straight up with them from day one. And I think that's all stems down to that. When you come to bring someone in and you're selling them this dream that is down the line, you're not being your authentic self, because you're selling them this version of you here, not this version of you here. And I think that's probably where there's some miscommunication, perhaps.
No, it definitely makes sense. Okay, I want to get on to the big thing, exiting. So, how did that come about? Is like that what Bill and you set out to do?
Yeah, I mean, always. A lot of people in insurance, I suppose the end goal is to eventually sell. Not always. Some people don't want to. People want to have a legacy business that they're going to pass down for generations or whatever. But I think we always looked at business as, I mean, when we first set it up, I was like, I'm going to a job 9 to 5. I might as well do my job, but just do it for myself. It was more, I didn't really know where it was going to go. I was just of the mindset that, well, I'm working, I might as well work for myself, and I'm just going to be doing the same thing, but I'm doing it on my own terms. There wasn't really I wasn't thinking too far ahead, because at that stage I was just thinking about getting through month by month and looking ahead for the sort of immediate 12 months ahead of me more than anything further down the line. But insurance can be very from selling an insurance company, because it's all relationships and clients, and it's renewable business year after year. So it's quite clear. You can work out yourself roughly how much you think your business is worth, because you can look at the numbers that you're bringing in year after year, and then it's how they calculate it. There's a lot more to it behind the scenes, but in simple terms, it will just be like a multiple of what your income is every single year. So we were always going to sell at some stage. In my head, I was thinking, I'll do this until I'm like 40, 50, and then I'll retire, and that'll be it. And then we were at a crossroads with where we wanted to go with the business. We got, not with each other, we was looking at how do we take NextGen to the next level in terms of, do we get some outside investment and just go on a massive recruitment hunt? But I think because of the struggles with recruitment we'd had, that wasn't such an attractive option for us, because we were like, then you're putting a lot of trust and money into other people, and we're not necessarily in control of that. What then happens after that point? We were sort of looking at, why don't we look at acquiring a business ourselves? Why don't we look at any small businesses that might be out there that are looking to retire, that we might be able to bring their book into us? Don't get me wrong, it was probably naive of us, because we really didn't have as much capital as we needed to do that, but it was an idea that we sort of played with. And there's this guy who, he said, like an acquisitions broker, effectively, that we sort of reached out to, sort of asking the question about acquiring businesses. Didn't really go anywhere, but then not long after that, we got an email saying, like, would you be thinking of selling? And it was just a cold email that we got, but it was from him, so we took notice of it, and we was like, he's obviously highlighted what he sold businesses for, what sort of multiples that they were getting and stuff like that, and we thought, let's explore it. No harm in just out of intrigue. I wonder what we would actually get for our business. So we sort of went back to him and said, yeah, we're interested. Before we know it, we're signing about 20, 25 non-disclosure agreements with multiple different brokers, and thinking, right, this is getting a bit serious now. And then we started having these meetings, and it was a great process, because we met so many brilliant people throughout that process, and we learned so much from that process as well. We learned so much about our business, so much about other people's businesses, how other people have got to the position that they're in, where they're looking to acquire someone like us. And obviously we started seeing some numbers come in, and we was like, it's probably a bit more than what we were actually expecting and thinking at the time. And it was a big decision to make. There was a lot of back and forth on whether or not we would do it. I thought where we got to a place in business where I was very comfortable. We was bringing in decent money. We were paying ourselves well. I was in this position where I was like, we've just got to this point now where everything's like flowing quite nicely, and now we're going to throw in something else in the mix, which is going to just make it all interesting again. But then we were sort of trying to work out the monies that we were getting offered. It's like, how long would it take us to sort of earn that money over however many years? And it's like, well, if we're in an opportunity where we can get this money now, and we're still young enough where we can use that money to get us to where we want to get to our houses that we want to get, and things like that. And the opportunity that came up from Partners And, who ended up acquiring us, it was a really good offer, but there was also this option for investing back into Partners And as well, their holding company. So again, when we were looking at a sort of a longer term return that we would get from selling our business, it was like, this is a no-brainer. Like, as tough as it's going to be to close the door on NextGen, I loved NextGen. I loved everything it standed for. I'd have my NextGen body warmer, my NextGen polos. Like, I just lived and breathed NextGen. Both of us did. So that was hard to sort of close the door on that. But when we sold, we maintained the name of NextGen for a while, because we were sort of part of Partners, and it's a big of a process when you close the business. So it was sort of like a slow mourning process. It wasn't just like, oh, you're gone, bye. Like, it was like we had time to sort of get our heads around it. And even the process of selling a business isn't done overnight. It took like 3-4 months to go through the due diligence and the solicitors and stuff like that. So there was a process to it, but I don't regret it at all. I think now everything's going really well. Got this sort of new hunger. It's a different type of hunger, I suppose, to do what we're doing now. And yeah, I'm just grateful that I'm in this position. I never would have thought I would have, when I set up the business, if someone said to me in 5-6 years' time, you'll be selling the business for X amount of money, I would have said, no chance. Like, I'd be happy just to earn the salary that I was earning in my job before, just to have basically just a lifestyle business. But yeah, it was a big sort of, but it was also very flattering as well, because a lot of people showed a lot of interest in our business, and a lot of people were, my phone's buzzing, I hope that doesn't ruin there. Yeah, it was very flattering, because a lot of people showed a lot of interest in it. We ended up having 4 formal offers from different brokers of different sizes, and it was a no-brainer decision we made in the end. But it was very nice for us, because we're always, again, with business, when you mix it with a lot of other business owners, especially in insurance, it's a very egotistical world, and you're speaking to people and you think everyone's doing better than you. Everyone's more successful, everyone's got more business. But then when you actually speak to the brokers that are looking to acquire you, and they're like, what you've done is fucking amazing in this short space of time. Like, it's really impressive, the business that you've built. And it's a nice realisation to be like, Joe, we were doing well. Like, we've now got ourselves into this position. And it was flattering. It was hard at times, like adjusting to the idea of selling, but ultimately it was the right thing to do. I think it was the right time. I think it was a smart decision in terms of our sort of long-term financial goals as well. So yeah, no regrets.
So you did the deal where, so the business was acquired, but you took some money and then you used that equity to acquire equity in the acquiring company.
Yeah, we had a really good share deal that we could invest in. So it sort of made sense, and we've got option to maximise the sale money. It's paid over a period of time, but it's given us like targets, which has driven us in the 2-year earn-out period that we've got. It's like, right, there's numbers there to hit. It's given us a whole new buzz and drive. We did our year 1, smashed that target. Now we're in our year 2, which is, again, now it's like, it's really exciting. So we've got this buzz, and they've invested in people within our office, so the team's grown. And yeah, it's really exciting at the moment. It's really exciting. So yeah, it's a big change from running a small business to being in a more corporate world.
Yeah.
It's a big change. But the main thing is we're enjoying it, and we're hitting our targets that we've been set out to do, and everyone seems happy, the team's happy, so we're happy.
Good. What, you said you got 4 formal offers. How did you decide which one you wanted to take?
Some of them were a bit different. There was we had one offer which was more of a merger than an acquisition, which was quite exciting. We was like, well, again, it was like it would be a bit of more of a longer term thing. But with Partners and when we met with the CEO and sort of their story and their mission, a lot of what we're very, I know we talk about insurance sales, etc., but we're very service driven business. We look after our clients from a service point of view. If you take care of them, then everything else will take care of itself. So we're not chasing commissions and incomes and stuff. We look after you, we're going to get you the good deal on a competitive price, and then the chances are you'll renew with us over and over again. And Partners and had that exact same sort of message, what they were looking to build as a business, and how they were setting out it was client focused, client comes first. So that was, we come out of that meeting, it was the meeting with Partners and was the last of our first stage meetings, which we had, and we both sort of come out of there and was like, this is the one that we're probably going to go with. Like,
You both agreed?
Yeah, we both agreed. We were so impressed with it all, and we were like, as long as the offer's right, I think it's a done deal. And then when we had the offers in, it was more, we were already 95% adamant we were going with Partners and anyway. But then I suppose with the overall offer of the incentives to continue growing the office and the shares options as well, it was like, well, yeah, that then ticked the final box, and we were very happy to sign the dotted line.
I like it. Thank you. I've learned a lot. There's a lot to take away there in starting out with a co-founder and your friend in business. There's a lot there in recruitment, retaining people. There's a lot there in exiting and going through it and what it can be like. So thank you.
Thank you for having me.
I've got a closing closing tradition on the podcast.
Right.
Same question. So for you, Dave, what is one thing that exists within the world today you hope will one day be eradicated?
A lot of things, I think.
All right.
Do I be controversial? Probably not. I probably shouldn't be controversial. This is a business podcast.
Controversial if you like.
I'll probably offend a lot of people. Oh, there's
I
a
definitely
lot.
want to know what the answer is then.
Hey?
I definitely want to know what your answer is.
No, Joe, what? I think there's a lot of things that you could eradicate. I think, as much as I think, no, I'm not going to say it because it'll probably piss a lot of people. But yeah, I'd eradicate war. Let's say that.
War. I want to know what the thing is that will piss people off.
Maybe I'll tell you after the podcast.
All right, okay. And we're done. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
This conversation has been brought to you and produced by Pink Panda Productions, where we make marketing for purpose, that purpose, build your business. How effective is your marketing? Don't know? Want to know? Take our 2-minute quiz and find out exactly how effective your marketing is at drawing in your ideal client, your ideal team member, and your ideal partner, so that you can stop wasting so much time interviewing candidates that just aren't quite the right fit, stop wasting so much time meeting with prospects that aren't ready or aren't right for your business, and find great partnerships to help build your business with other businesses. So take the 2-minute marketing quiz to find out how effective your marketing is. Look in the link in the description to take your quiz and get your score.